Apple Plus's psychological horror thriller Servant takes place in hipster power couple Dorothy and Sean Turner's great old Victorian mansion in an upper-crust Philadelphia neighborhood. The story begins to unravel on a rainy night when Leanne, an unsettling, strange 19-year-old girl, has just arrived at the Turners' front doorstep for her first day as their live-in nanny. Dorothy is returning to her job as a popular news anchor for a local television station, and her husband Sean is very busy with his career as a successful chef. Now that Dorothy is going back to work, she needs someone to watch over her son Jericho. While Leanne starts praying, it is revealed that Jericho is a rubber baby, when Sean cries as he holds the baby late at night while Dorothy sleeps. Dorothy leaves for her first day back to work, giving Sean time to try to explain Dorothy's situation to Leanne, who continues to soothe the doll as if it were real.
I guess we should talk about this. She's gone. You can put the doll down now.
I'm fine as I am, Mr. Turner.
We lost Jericho when he was 13 weeks. Dorothy took it hard. This is the only thing that brought her back.
I should take Jericho for his walk now.
Sean is triggered by Leanne when she takes the rubber doll to the park, acting as if Jericho is a real baby. Leanne gets all weird when Sean drops the rubber baby on the floor. Sean searches Leanne's room and pricks his finger on a wicker cross he finds in a drawer. Sean is stunned and terrified all at the same time when he hears a baby on the monitor and goes upstairs to see the doll alive, looking eerily like Jericho. When Leanne comes home, she acts as if the fact that the rubber baby is now alive is completely normal.
I'm gonna ask you this one more time. Whose baby is that?
That's your baby, Mr. Turner. It's Jericho.
Sean quickly grows suspicious as he tries to figure out Leanne's backstory.
Where did you find her?
I don't know.
Now think.
I put a shout out on my Twitter page. An old makeup artist recommended a girl. When I got in touch with her, she was already with a new family, but she must have shared my link because within a week I had a dozen resumes.
So a friend of a colleague of an acquaintance.
What can I say? We got lucky.
Sean destroys the wicker cross that Leanne put above baby Jericho's bed. Sean has his brother-in-law Julian over to show him the baby. Julian hires a guy named Roscoe to look into missing babies to see if anything turns up.
There was a little one snatched earlier this week up in Fairhill.
Oh my God, those poor parents.
Yeah, my heart goes out to them. But Deshaun and Shanice do not exactly fit the racial profile. Whoever's that is up there, they're not looking.
Since Sean destroyed the wicker cross, he's been finding wooden splinters all over his body. Julian and Roscoe go out to Wisconsin and find Leanne's house all burnt up and a wicker cross above the charred remains of her bed. While Leanne and Toby, Sean's apprentice, are drinking wine and eating eel, Julian comes over to crash the party. Julian shows Sean a live video on his phone of Leanne's headstone in the local graveyard from her hometown in Wisconsin.
Whole family wiped out by that fire. How is that possible? That sweet, innocent little girl you got up there, she stole the identity of a dead kid.
Sean sets up a video recorder in Leanne's room. Sean thinks that Leanne might have snuck the baby in the whole time, and that she could be the biological mother.
Grayson? Hello, Mrs. Turner.
What are you smoking these days?
When Leanne comes back from the park, she finds the door left wide open. A woman with a child, claiming to be a neighbor that's been locked out all morning, introduces herself to Leanne after she finds her baby carriage outside. She looks around the house and takes pictures. When Leanne stops by her house later, a different lady opens up the door and tells her nobody named Wanda lives there.
You don't live on the street, do you, Wanda?
What?
Who sent you? Who told you to be my friend?
Julian! His name is Julian, okay? He works with my family. They gave me $300. Ask a few questions, encourage you to leave. That's all.
The magical realism of the show seems to be activated by Leanne in her room, where she prays, reads her Bible, and whips herself in the back, almost as if these acts are cursing the Turners. In Sean's case, Wood splinters show up all over his body, and he is cursed with the lack of taste, being the most important tool he has as a chef. Leanne starts to turn her vengeful magic from Sean, aiming it towards Dorothy, as cold sores break out across her face. Dorothy's most important asset as a news anchor. A look of shock and fear crossed Leanne's face when she opens up a card she got in the mail that has the words "Owned You" with an exclamation mark written on the inside. A man drenched in rain knocks on the door, and Leanne lets him in.
Are they home?
Work.
Well, let's have a proper look at him.
Shoes.
When Dorothy comes home, she sees the card and notices the man's wet shoes. Dorothy invites George, Leanne's uncle, over for dinner. George tells Dorothy that some issues have arisen back home and Leanne will be needed there. Julian shows up and has a brief exchange with Uncle George.
Why don't you start by telling me who the fuck you really are?
I'm the same as you, Julian.
You figure?
Uncles. It's a greater responsibility than people realize. In the event of a tragedy, that's when we step up, take the child under our wing. If we're good people.
Dorothy is triggered by what George said and makes a contract for Leanne to sign. Dorothy insists that her Uncle George stay, so Julian stays over on the couch for Sean since he is out of state cooking for the Philadelphia Eagles. Julian and Dorothy wake up in the middle of the night to find Leanne's uncle sleeping in Jericho's bed. The next morning, Leanne tells her uncle she wants to stay.
I'll bring your Aunt May next time. You know you can't say no to her.
In episode 7, the audience is introduced to Dorothy's kinesiologist, Natalie. The audience comes to find out that the rubber baby was her idea. Natalie quickly becomes concerned for Dorothy's mental health. When Dorothy tells Natalie she doesn't need her help anymore and that she found a nanny. When Natalie hears a noise coming from Jericho's room, she goes up to investigate. When she leans over the crib, Leanne pulls her down to the ground by the hair and grabs Jericho. Natalie comes over to dinner after the incident with Leanne. Sean recruits Leanne to help make sure Natalie does not see or hear the live baby she thinks is a rubber doll.
I can't leave Dorothy alone with Natalie, not for a minute. If I could have someone to help me serve, keep an eye on the kitchen.
Like a hostess?
Yeah, like a hostess.
Natalie tries to have an intervention about the doll during their meal of haggis Sean prepared for everyone, and Dorothy doesn't take it very well.
I am a ferocious lioness, and I am capable of healing myself. I don't need kinesiology or homeopathy or a stranger looking at my poo under a microscope. I am She-Ra, and I am stronger than any one of you know.
Julian tells Leanne what happened to the original Jericho, and she seems upset, to say the least.
Julian, what the fuck?
When Leanne is helping Dorothy take off her pearls, the necklace breaks, going all over the floor. When Leanne grabs one of the pearls, the ominous music and the look of concentration on her face hints to the audience that she is using sympathetic magic, as she did with Sean. When she seemingly manifested the splinters of wood he found all over his body from the wicker cross he destroyed. In episode 9, the audience gets more backstory about the original baby Jericho's death, showing that Sean left Dorothy alone for a Cooking Network show he filmed in Los Angeles, while she searched for a nanny.
Your chocolate delice isn't set properly, and this marshmallow is offensive, like polishing a turd.
Oh, don't listen to that horrible man.
Dorothy doesn't realize she left Jericho outside in the car after she came inside. Horrifyingly, when she goes to check on him, it's obvious the infant is dead at this point, but Dorothy carries on as if Jericho is still alive. Leanne starts to fuck with Dorothy's head, apparently because she is disgusted with the way she let the original Jericho die. Sean tries to explain to Leanne that what Dorothy did was an accident, and it doesn't make her a bad person, because people make mistakes. But Leanne doesn't seem convinced, as if she's worried that Dorothy might hurt the baby she has seemingly manifested for them.
If I'd been here, none of that would have happened. That was my mistake.
When Dorothy and Sean have a public baptism for Jericho with their closest friends, Leanne's crazy uncle shows back up with Aunt May as promised. Sean tries to offer her uncle money, but he refuses to take it, while Leanne tells her aunt what Dorothy did to the original Jericho.
No more dolls. No more pretending. You're our servant, not hers.
After some praying with Leanne's uncle, he convinces Sean that what Leanne has done is bring back Jericho. After going through her old news tapes, Dorothy realizes that Leanne's aunt was a cult leader that got in a standoff with police. And strangely enough, she covered the story. Leanne goes out to the street to find her cult outside waiting to embrace her. Dorothy rushes back to Jericho's room as flashbacks to a man in a hazmat suit hauling the rotting Jericho out of the room flash across the screen. A look of shock crosses Dorothy's face, leaving season 1 on a cliffhanger, as the baby in the crib has turned back to the rubber baby.